This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
He has time. He's got left side. Dobbs is there. Leaping grab. Touchdown. Touchdown.
Good morning. Welcome to Ken and Ken in the Morning. Hope everyone is having a phenomenal morning today. It's Wednesday. Oh, today's a busy day, isn't it? Today is such a super busy day. We've got shows all over the place for you today. We've got Ken and Ken in the Morning. We've got JB right after us. Then we've got the MMA Maniacs this afternoon, followed by House Hall this evening, and JB with the panel, which is going to be monster tonight. I think we're like 12 or 13 Bubbas on tonight. It's going to be huge because we got a couple networks converging together for the preview of the AFC North. Good morning, Nicholas. It's going to be a big day today, man. We're going to be busy.
Oh, fucking tell me about it. I've got a bare minimum of 4 shows to do today, and that's just if the dog wants to cooperate and not give me another present.
Well, Ken, I did tell you we had a new meme come into the offices today, sent in by a viewer. I won't say which viewer unless the viewer wants to, claim responsibility for the terrorism I'm about to throw on the wall. Well, some may consider it terrorism. Others of us think it's hilarious.
Wow.
I cannot take credit for this meme because obviously if I did, it would have the little thing on the bottom there at Ken the Bear fan. But yeah, this came into the front office. I was like, yeah, that's going up. That's hilarious.
Man, what I can't wait for is what Joe's response to that's going to be, because it's going to be fucking awesome.
Mitch is claiming responsibility for it. It wasn't Mitch, but he's claiming responsibility for it. Oh my goodness. So not much going on yesterday league wise. I mean, after the Ragnow, there's been a lot of discussion about it. I was on another show last night with the boys from the other network on their open mic. We talked about it a little bit. JB was on, and JB's under the impression that, it's really not that big of a deal. We got all these other guys who, we had 5 guys who just played at center. I mean, look, Lions fans think that losing Ragnow is no big deal.
I wouldn't say it's no big deal, but I also wouldn't say that it's, oh my God, we need to pack it in for the season right now. Yeah.
Agree. Good morning, Eric. 4 minutes. Let's go. Diamonds elevated table height. There we go. That goes back to the beginnings of the show.
Eric, I'm going to tell you, since you were 4 minutes late, you got to smoke 4 joints.
No, push-ups.
We're talking
a little bit about Ragnow, and can I agree with you? I don't think it's like, oh my God, the Lions are going to pack it in, they're done. I'm just saying, and this is where they go, we're not going to feel an impact. You're going to feel an impact. Like, you lose an all-star caliber player. You lose a high-end player. There's going to be an impact you're going to feel on the field for at least a little bit. Maybe one of the new guys steps up, right? I mean, there's always a possibility. And none of us, good morning, Brent, is saying it's not a possibility that one of the guys they have on the roster currently steps into the void. And look at Jack Sanborn, right? When Roquan Smith was traded, stepped in, and could you tell that Roquan Smith had been traded from the Bears? No, you couldn't.
Here to help, buddy. Always here to help.
So, I mean, it's possible, but look at the odds. Or MC squared today. There we go. I think they're gonna feel it in the first couple games. I think the first couple games they feel it, and then it's gonna go one of two ways, right? One of these guys is gonna step up, and you're like, okay, life is gonna be okay still in Detroit. We're fine. One of these guys is stepping up, or it could go, but most Lions fans, oh, this didn't happen. It could go south and south fast, right? It could be like none of these guys that they're playing can hold the line, so to speak, and it goes terribly.
Yeah.
But it's a possibility.
No, Eric's gonna die after winning his freaking bet if that happens.
Yeah, no shit.
Because I told you, Eric, you're gonna need some help from God on this one, and it seems like you might be getting a little bit here and there, buddy.
So I mean, I don't want to give too much more on this Ragnow thing, but I mean, it is a big impact for them. Yeah, they kind of had an idea what's happening. They took a couple preventative measures, but I think they probably the front office still had an inkling that he may came back. Because yesterday I was talking to JB, he's like, well, he told the team, which is what I thought yesterday on the show, that he told them that he was considering retirement. I'm like, okay, well, it sounds like the Lions didn't take that consideration uber seriously. Like they said, well, maybe it's like a 60, 40, 80, 20 days coming back, and we'll get something just in case, but we probably won't need it. Well, it turns out they needed it. I think there was he communicated it, gave them the heads up. They did take some corrective action, but or it could be they took the best corrective action they possibly could, because let's face it, there wasn't much out there. And by the time he told them, supposedly, it was after free agency started, so the good free agents had already been signed. They asked JB to try out for center. That's great. Geez, Nicholas, what'd you have for breakfast this morning? Flaming hot Cheetos and an orange pop. So I mean,
no, that's not breakfast. That was a snack after breakfast.
Yeah, Eric, and they don't want to hear that. Eric brings up a phenomenal point, right? They lost Ragnow, they lost Zeitler. They were good run blockers. That's going to affect Gibbs and Montgomery. And I don't care how good you think Penei Sewell is, and he is really freaking good. This Lions offensive line is not the same. It is downgraded from the year before on paper. Looking at it initially, could the new blood that they put in there step up and play at the same level or even a higher level? Sure, it's possible. Are the odds in favor of that? Nah, man, he left for his health, man. I mean, I know where John's at with this, but I cannot slam Ragnow or the Lions. Well, the Lions, I mean, are the Lions. It is ironic, though, and this is what feeds John's comment, Ken. I mean, look, it's Ragnow, it's Barry, it's Megatron. There are a couple other players who've done it.
Well, like I said, being in Detroit is worse on your stress levels than being president.
But I mean, in Ragnow's case, man, he's got like permanent turf toe. He's got this, was it a wrist or an ankle injury that's inoperable? I mean, he's already looking at quality of life. But maybe that's it. Maybe playing for the Lions degrades your quality of life, and that's why these guys, I don't know. Second breakfast. Well,
Yeah.
it is 11. It's 11 a.m. in the East Coast, Eastern time zone. Any line? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say they're clueless, Isaac. I wouldn't go that hard on them. I would say that the hope is flowing.
You're drinking too much of the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it's like,
Because that doesn't mean you can't have hope that the line is going to turn out just as good, if not better, with adding the new pieces. That just means you got to prepare yourself that it might not.
Let me say this. Let me remind Packer fans, Bears fans, even Vikings fans of all the hopium I hear on this show from those fan bases about when they are changing players out, when some players leaving and another player is coming or something. So we hear it from all the fan bases. So I mean, take it for what it is. I get it that you want to believe that your team is like. I get it. I mean, trust me, I get it. Last year, I looked at the offensive line before the season started, saying, all right, this offensive line might be pretty decent. Top 5 run offensive line the year prior, right? And they brought in some new blood to shore up the pass line. And before the season starts, great. The guy who we tagged to be the right guard's on the IR for like half the season. Oh, and then now the other guy is hurt. Oh, now Tevin Jenkins can't stay healthy. I get it, right? The hopium runs this year. I'm a little tempered. I'm like, I really love what the Bears did, the investment they made. But my question is at right guard and center, what happens if those guys get injured? What's the backup plan? Because at left tackle, left guard, I've got one. I don't have one at right guard and center right now. I don't feel that secure. Now, if I were a Lions fan, I'd be like, my backup guys would be just as good as Dahlman. So, that's just kind of where we're at right now. And it's like, okay. So I wouldn't say they're clueless. I'm just saying they're look at, you got to sell hope at this part of the season. And like when the head coach comes out and says, we're fine with what we've got. Well, of course he's going to say that. Hey, Ken, you're now the head coach of the Packers. Your all-star center just retired, and you've got 5 guys that you're trying to figure out which one. How do you feel about your center position? Are you going to come out and say, oh, my God, we don't know how we're going to do it this year. It's terrible. We're hoping one of these guys can step up. Or you say, no, we're good with what we got.
No, absolutely. What the hell are you going to do? Undermine the confidence of your team going in?
And you know what? They did miss a beat. The Eagles did miss a beat without Kelce. There were some things that look at. The Eagles may have won the Super Bowl last year, but there were some tush pushes at first that when Kelce first left, their efficiency on tush push actually went down a little bit. There was more pressures on the quarterback. The guy who replaced him had been there for 2 years already and had trained with Kelce, so there was that. But there was a drop-off in Philly with that offensive line when Kelce retired initially. And that's what I've been saying is going to happen with Detroit. Initially, there'll be drop-off. But just like the Eagles, okay, so fine, they can make the Eagles argument, Isaac, but remind them that initially when Kelce left, there was a drop-off in Philly. And just because it happened in Philly doesn't mean it's going to happen in Detroit. It could happen. Thank you, Nicholas. Well, I'll say it. Our resident meme is here. Yeah. So, Joe, are you driving or are you at a stoplight?
I'm driving.
All right. Well, let me know when you hit a stoplight. We have something to throw up for you that was made by a fan of the show. But I'll wait till you're at a stoplight.
Oh, Joe, I can't wait for your reaction.
I mean, the fact that they felt they had to make a meme for me, it's like it means I'm in their head that much. So,
I don't know if this is that's not that kind of meme. It's not that kind of meme, but it's good. You'll actually probably enjoy it a little bit. Let me make sure it's ready. All right, you ready? Oh no, he's still driving. I'll throw it up anyways. No, you can let me know when you see it.
Okay. I mean, caught me yawning. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about the Raiders losing to the Bears, though.
And we've got a Woody.
So Woody,
Yeah,
you don't have
on
an
that
opinion
fucking-
about
I feel like
anything.
What's that?
I know you don't have an opinion about anything, but what do you think about Joe saying he's not worried about the Raiders losing to the Bears?
No one's perfect. I have no idea. We never know. That's why they play the games.
Exactly.
Genti can run over 200 yards, or you can get negative 200. We don't know.
I would fucking die laughing to see anything anywhere near that.
So
all that does is remind me that Reggie Bush is still the only running back in history to rush for negative yards in a season.
Yep.
Crazy. Well,
In a season?
Yep, in a season. Not a game, a season. When he went and played for Buffalo, he ended the year with a total of like -3 or -5 yards, something like that.
Yeah, they stopped him for the first down. So that was yeah.
Who was the OC? Was it Getsy or was it
Pressman?
Pressman. There we go. Hey, look at the line. This gives us more to watch now with the Lions. Obviously, I mean, not that there wasn't enough going on with Detroit with the coaching change, which of course Lions fans have also said means absolutely nothing. So I guess Lions fans are impervious to change.
Well, come on, man. They got the Morton Salt guy. They'll be all right.
I mean, they kind of sound like Packer fans, impervious to change.
I think they won that. I think they won that division by signing Zach Cunningham at linebacker.
Oh, there you go. That's
Championship.
It is funny though hearing Lions fans sound like Packer fans normally sound. And Ken, I mean, I'm not trying to dig at you being a Packer fan.
I've said this recently about the Lions, and when I thought of it, it made too much sense. The reason why none of us can stand the Lions is they have all of the Packers' arrogance with none of the accomplishment.
But the Packers don't have the. Never mind. I'm not going to go there this morning. Because I was talking to someone about.
Ken, what were you going to say? Ken, what were you going to say? I can say it.
Well, I mean, look, it's like the Packers don't have anything to be arrogant about. Since 1980, you've won 2 Super Bowls. Big fucking deal. We've won 1. Big fucking deal. No one else in the division's won anything. In that same time span, Tom Brady's won 7.
Yeah, there's your outlier. Why don't you look at anybody not named Brady?
Eli Manning has won 2. Peyton Manning has won 2. Heck, even Matt Stafford left the division and won 1. I mean, there is no arrogance. The Packers, to quote Broski, have been the best of the worst, and that's about it. I mean, I get why the Packers are the way because they've won the division a lot. Great, that's awesome. It's good for Packer fan base. They should be happy they've won those. They did that, but the arrogance isn't actually justified. Like, and the thing is, now you got Lions fans who've had 2 good years. They think they are the Packers, and they're not. But it's funny because Ken, when you really just sit back and analytically listen and just look at the comments that they're making, they sound like Packer fans when they make a change. And look at their Bear fans are exactly the same way.
Well, I was gonna say any free agent you guys bring in, most of your fan base thinks, "Oh my God, he's now going to be a future Hall of Famer, first ballot, all this." When half the time
you're not talking about me.
Half the time you got
what's up, Nicholas?
2 years before they're gone.
I mean, look, hey, Justin Fields is hit. I get it. You're not wrong. I mean, you got guys out there. Justin Fields is him, and in year 1, yeah, he looked like him because he was flashy with 1 plays, but it turns out he wasn't. But no, I agree with you. Ken. It's just, I think why Packer fans take a little more exception to what Lions fans are doing is like, hey, this is our shtick. You can't copy our shtick.
Yeah, because at least we win shit occasionally.
That's a better way of saying it, Ken.
Everybody has a participation trophy at the end, so I don't want to fucking hear it.
No,
Look, I know Lions have a pretty good roster. You know what I mean? They have some pretty good players. They have all pros. You know what I mean? But to think that nothing will change, that they'll be on this high horse still and everything, that's delusion of grandeur in their minds. You know what I mean? To lose that much coaching staff, losing one of the biggest anchors on your offensive line, and actually losing Zeitler that actually played really well for you last season, that's a lot to make up. And to act like
I think all that was age, though, with Zeitler and Ragnow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Isaac makes a great point, though, that also needs to be added in there because, like, when people want to deal with the Eagles, when they lost Kelsey, but they also changed the OC that very season. And also lose another one of their offensive linemen who was a stalwart for them. And then, then Lions fans will say, well, yeah, but they didn't play as much because of this injury, that injury, and the mitigating circumstances, blah, blah, blah. And look, I'm not even saying they're going to suck. I'm saying you're just going to feel an impact probably for the first 4 or 5 games of the season, maybe a little bit less. You're going to feel an impact. And could it end up by the end of the year where you're just as good or in the same place? Sure. Because like I said, one of those guys can step up. But the first couple games of the year, there's gonna be a difference there, and this is different than the other argument says. Yeah, but when Hutch went down last year, you all said, okay, yeah, Hutch went down, and your defense adjusted pretty well. And you played well without him. You weren't as good. I think you would have been a better defense with Hutch than what you were. Yeah, you were still a good defense, but there was still yet a change there, and it's like. You can get lucky too. You can get the Sanborn effect, right? You got
the other thing is too,
and Sanborn stepped up and stepped in immediately. I'm not saying that can't happen in Detroit, but Detroit has added factors.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is too, they want to put Tate Ratledge as a center. Tate Ratledge played right guard in Georgia. I mean, there is players that transition to center. But it's actually a big thing that you have to practice for. Like, the snaps have to be perfect. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things you have to change as far as being an offensive lineman. You know what I mean? When you're used to playing one position and switching to a different one. So don't expect it to be right away. The real Lions fans are admitting it. The real Lions fans are saying, yeah, it's going to be, you know what I mean, groans and pains. The other Lions fans like, no, we're still going to be 15-2.
Well,
it's like, be realistic.
Bring up a great point though. That guy gets buried in the lead, right? It takes lots of practice. Which whoever that center is going to be, it takes a lot of practice. You got to get, you don't want to have bad snap exchanges, whether in a shotgun or under center. And okay, doing it in practice is different than doing it in games, which is different than doing it in the preseason. The problem is this: the starters are going to get maybe 20, 30 snaps for the entire preseason. And then they're going to go to live action week 1 in Green Bay. And then they're going to get Chicago in week 2 live action. So 2 good defenses, right? And actually then they get, who's week 3? That's another Cleveland, isn't it? Or something like that. I mean, they got some tough defenses the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. Then they go to Kansas City, I think, week 5. I mean, you want to talk about
Baltimore.
Baltimore, that's what it is, Baltimore. I mean, dude, like, okay, you're going to get practices and OTAs, which I still love. We talk about that, like how great or bad they look and how people rave about, which means nothing. But you get a little bit of practice there. So they're going to get some practice. That's good. But as far as game practice, like at speed, like they're going to get next to no snaps in the preseason. And let's face it, preseason snaps, while better than practice snaps, aren't as good as actual game snaps, right? There's that crawl, walk, run progression. So when you they're basically go crawl, run, because they basically skip walk, right? By not playing the preseason. I think there's opportunity for a lot of growing pains in opportunity for, not saying it's going to happen. There's opportunity for a lot of growing pains in Detroit the first 4 or 5 games of the season.
And you're right about that. Dan Campbell really doesn't play any of his starters in preseason. Like he did last game, but they only played like for one play or 2 plays, and then he pulled them all out. So that's a lot of not any game experience for if you're gonna put Tate Ratledge as your center that just came fresh out of college. That's a lot to learn.
It's a lot of pressure to put on a rookie, but I'll tell you what, though, Isaac, that might not be a bad move to make him a center right now.
Oh, yeah.
For the future. You're going to suffer maybe in the first 4 or 5 games, maybe half season, but that might be the best move for their future.
I think the best move they should do is put Glasgow as center, because Glasgow has, the veteran experience. He's prone to play center. So why not throw Glasgow instead of a rookie? And a rookie, you can probably ease him in there and then move Glasgow back. But right now, starting Glasgow right away, that's kind of tough.
Well, let me go back to what I talked about before, how Bears fans, we got a little hype last year with ours. Hey, Woody, didn't we have a guy that we played at center last year we were all hyped about because in his rookie year he was an all-pro, and then last year he sucked as a center?
Correct. Yeah, that's what Isaac was talking about with Detroit. Same as Chicago. We get an injury, then we're fluctuating that whole offensive line. People aren't used to the positions at all. They got all fucked up. That's why I wanted the offensive line to stay healthy, during OTAs and preseason, because I want to keep everybody at the position that they're there for.
Oh, there was a year, I think it was 2 years ago, that Green Bay had about 15 shuffles on their offensive line because we had injuries that just devastated our whole line.
Well,
Cody Whitehair played every goddamn position on offensive line. He might as well got in tight end. He was sucked, but that's fine.
Cody was the guy who was an all-pro center his first season when we moved him off, and then we brought him back to center. He was terrible.
Yep.
So I'm glad.
Bum on our team.
But and I remember Zach Tom for the Packers. His first game action was at left tackle, I think it was. Then he was at left guard. Now he's a starting right guard. I think that's going to be a home for him.
Right tackle.
Oh, now he's at right tackle.
Yeah.
Shit. Zach Tom's played everything but center in Green Bay, so they've done some shuffling. But you do it when they're in those first 3 years and you develop them, and then you can. So that's like with Kieran. The question for the Bears: well, what do we do with Kieran now? Move him to left guard.
Well, the good thing about Zach Tom is he did that in college too. He changed different positions on the line, and so did Elgton Jenkins. That's why Green Bay basically drafted those guys. But to have a guy that's been playing right guard, transition to center straight out of college. I know Georgia's really good, and Tate Ratledge is actually a good player. That's tough to do, especially with how hungry our division's going to be. And you start off with division games.
I just wanted to throw this out there because Dorn said Bakhtiari is still out there. You can put him at center. Obviously, you can put him at center, but if you could get him for cheap, there's worse things in the world than having Bakhtiari and Penei Sewell as your tackles, dude.
You wouldn't be wrong, except Bakhtiari's running with 1 1/4 knees right now.
I know, but if you could that's why I said if you could get him cheap and get something out of him, you know what I mean?
And Bakhtiari didn't even play. He didn't play last year.
He didn't play last year. But that might be good for the knee. He got a year off, got to go to the doctor and get checked out, and who knows?
But in that year off, he went climbing in giant ass mountains, so that probably didn't give his knee.
Probably with Rodgers. So, yeah. He could beat Aaron Rodgers in a guzzling contest for beer at a basketball game.
I was going to say shit. He could beat a freaking hole in a funnel for guzzling.
Jesus Christ, dude! I thought that was Joey Chestnut drinking a beer.
The division.
His dad was more impressive.
Just came out. Rich Eisen came out and said the NFC North is probably the best division in football. So did he just curse us? Because you look at the division. Sure, we all think we're good. I think look at all teams, all 4 teams could possibly win 10. Who wins this division? Flip a coin. Who knows? Who's in first? Who's in last? It could be any of us. That's kind of what the division is looking like right now. Everyone's got questions, right? The Bears, new coaching staff, right? New O-line. The Packers, really the most stable of the team, but is Jordan Love really the guy? People outside of Green Bay, that's the question. People in Green Bay, he's the next coming of whatever. You go to Minnesota. Is JJ going to be the guy? And have they fixed their offensive line issues? You go to Detroit, new coaching staff, offensive line issues now that they haven't had for the last couple of years, losing 2 veterans and now having to replace them. There are still questions in this division after Rich Eisen comes out and proclaims we're the best division in football. I just, look, at least there's something interesting to watch with all 4 of these teams in this division. So at least that makes it interesting for the offseason, because you look at some of the other divisions and they're like, they've got questions, but they got better answers, it seems, for some of these questions than we do.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm scared of, Minnesota, because again, JJ McCarthy is like Sam Darnold. All you have to do is be good. They boosted up their running game because they signed Jordan Mason. They signed Will Fries on the offensive line. Their defense just as good. I'll be scared of Minnesota.
So I know one podcaster who'll be on JB's show tonight who thinks Minnesota's the worst team in the division.
Woo!
Yeah. So, but look at, I mean, the thing with them is JJ's the unknown. Is if does JJ game manage or is JJ try to do too much? If JJ
Is that podcaster a Lions fan?
What now?
Is that podcaster who thinks the Vikings are the worst?
He's a Steelers fan.
Oh God.
Who thinks
So
Tom?
I don't know. I actually feel like the Lions could be the worst team in the division.
See, that's the beauty of this division, though. Right now, that's what I'm talking about. The parity of this division.
That's not saying they're a bad team. Just like honestly, when I look at it, they have the most question marks for me.
But I mean, you go around people who aren't a fan of one of the teams in this division, and you'll get all 4 teams are the worst, all 4 teams are the best as you go throughout. Someone's going to say the Packers are going to be the worst, the Bears are going to be the worst, the Vikings are going to be worse. It's going to happen across the board. Outside of the division, people looking at it.
So
That's
Joe,
all.
you have no questions about Chicago. So you think Detroit has more questions to answer than Chicago does?
Well, you said it all right there. Like, I don't think Chicago has no question marks. I just think Detroit has more question marks.
Oof.
In my opinion, like they're losing a lot on their offensive line. They're starting Glasgow at center, which I don't think is going to be successful. They have a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. We have a lot of guys coming back from injury. There's no guarantee that all those guys are going to come back 100%. Like, I just feel like they have, I don't know. When I look at the division, like, I think Chicago is going to take a step forward. I think Ben Johnson should be good for Caleb. They did a lot to try to improve their offensive line, but that's a question mark. Did the moves that they made work? Right. But like, for me, the only real big question mark for Chicago is their offensive line. If it holds up, Detroit has the offensive line plus a whole new coaching staff, plus half their team was on IR last year and coming back. Like, how many of those guys, like, look at Hutch, like, you know, is he going to be, I think it's going to take some time for him to get back and be fully healthy. Like, so I just feel like, I'm not saying they're going to be a bad team. I just think there's a chance that they could finish last in the division this year.
I mean, our offensive line, I mean, Dahlman hasn't had a healthy year. Jonah Jackson, you know, injury prone. We don't, you know, Tooney, he won the Super Bowl, big deal. So I still think that we have big questions, and we could be, we drafted a young offensive lineman as well. So we'll see about that. But my question is, our offensive line still, quarterback play, and you know, us losing Sanborn is a big thing. I mean, nobody believes that, but he was a big part of that linebacking crew.
I agree.
And Tremaine Edmonds has to have a big year, or he's gone. This is his last year, so I have a lot of questions. Plus, all our new coaches as well.
But I think the difference in the coaching, though, that and I think Joe would agree with this. For the Bears, it's seen as a net positive in the coaching change. Or in Detroit, it's kind of a neutral or negative because you took AG, you took Ben, and now brought in these 2 other guys who, weren't being hunted to get head coaching jobs elsewhere. You know, so
yeah, I think that matters. Like, you know, Detroit got their coaches poached, like, from, you know, to other teams. Like, so Chicago, you know, they poached Ben Johnson, and like the Lions had to hire a guy like from within to keep their offense the same. Like, you know, it's not necessarily the guy they wanted. They're like, well, we want to run the same offense. We need somebody who understands it, and you know, so I think there's a difference there.
I saw an article on that too. Like, where basically one of the bigger things they looked at when hiring their new OC, new DC, was continuity for what was already there. So that's why they went within versus going out and getting, let's say, like a Robert Saleh kind of guy for a defensive coordinator. They want a guy from within the system, so they didn't have to change the system, which is, I mean, that's good. I understand that. I think we all get that that's a good thing on one level. But, like, how's the play calling from those guys going to differ? And then the offensive side of the ball, obviously he needs to change that offense some because, well, the guy who designed it's still in the division. You don't think he's sitting there with his new DC in Chicago telling him everything about that old Lions playbook? So they're going to have to design new. Morton's going to have to come up with some new shit, right? And conversely, so is Ben Johnson, right? I'm not missing that piece, but that all gets interesting. I mean.
And the funny thing is, Lions fans try to brag to Packers fans about their coaches and coordinators getting poached. I said first time.
But another thing is that, like, with them getting poached, like I don't think Ben Johnson is worried about having to change up his offense some. I actually think he's probably looking forward to it because there's things he can do in Chicago that he couldn't do in Detroit. Like they have Laporta, but now he has 2 tight ends that he could throw to. Like, Rome is coming into his second year. I expect that he should, he had a solid rookie year, but, he struggled because Caleb struggled somewhat. Like, I expect, that should be better. Like, they have, they just have more weapons. And so I think there's going to, Ben Johnson will find creative ways to get all those guys the ball. Caleb threw for 3,500 yards last year. I personally, I mean, I could see Caleb being the first one to throw for 4,000 yards this season, like just that. But I also wouldn't be surprised, and I'd laugh my ass off if he gets like 39-97.
Here's why Ben Johnson won't struggle as a play caller. It was like around week 10 or somewhere around there. They interviewed him, and they asked him, hey, all those trick plays and everything that came out during this season. He's like, aren't you worried about tipping your hand for the playoffs? He said, oh, they can go ahead and read those plays. I have so many more plays in my book. It's not, you haven't seen nothing yet. So to say that, his plays are all out there, that means he has a lot more that he has not shown yet. You know what I mean? So
let me throw 2 stat lines out, and you tell me what quarterbacks you think these are. The first quarterback had a 1-5 record, threw for 1,531 yards, 8 touchdowns, and no turnovers.
Jordan Love.
Second quarterback had the same record, threw for 1,367 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 6 turnovers. Which quarterbacks do you think they are, A and B?
A is Jordan Love, isn't it?
No,
B is Jordan Love.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially with the way the question was phrased, B's definitely Love, and the first one's Caleb.
That's correct.
Damn.
So John,
I was going to say it wouldn't have been brought up if it was reversed.
I brought it up because of John's constant comments to a degree, but Packer fans like John, you need to understand Caleb's a pretty good quarterback. Okay, John and then look at John doubles down, best quarterback in the division, but those numbers don't really support you, John.
I like what Dan Orlovsky said, though. Dan Orlovsky, I mean, yeah, he wasn't that great of a quarterback, but he's actually really good, brilliant mind on reading a quarterback and, breaking down the plays and breaking down the metrics of a quarterback. He came out and said, he tweeted actually some morning, is if you think Jordan Love regressed from year one, then you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're looking at quarterback metrics. Thank you. Have a good day. That was his whole tweet. It's true.
I give Matt LaFleur a bunch of credit, though, because he does put your offense in positions. Like, he understands the talent on his team, and he knows what he's got and how to use them properly, and that's a strength that he's had as a head coach in Green Bay. So this division with the quarterbacks, be it Love, be it Goff, be it Caleb, and we'll see now about JJ. I think 3 of the 4 right now we can say are good, have either have a bright future or had one, because I think Goff might be coming down a little bit, whereas Love maybe he's still got some room, and obviously Caleb just started. Right now, Goff is the best quarterback in the division. The numbers support it. The record supports it. And Caleb and Love they had issues last year, both, for various reasons. There's not a single reason, just various issues. Whether it be receivers that drop balls because they both had guys like that, whether it be in Caleb like having shit coaching for most of the year, or bad play calls, or inopportune things, or injuries, or they've both those guys had some different issues that basically both fan bases need to see a little bit of change from both those quarterbacks. And both those quarterbacks need to take a step. And I've said this about Love. for Love this year, he needs to prove that he's worth the 55 or 50 million or whatever that contract was that he got paid last year. Last year he didn't earn the money. This year he needs to earn the money, and I think he can do it. I think he's a good quarterback. But here's the other piece, and I'll say this to kind of counter my own argument. It's not just the quarterback. He has to have an offensive line. He has to have receivers, tight ends. He has to have a running game. He's got to have other pieces. None of these quarterbacks in this division, I don't think at this point in time, can pick the team up, put them on their back, and walk them to the Super Bowl. None of them are that guy yet. None of them are.
Here's what I want Love to improve at is stop throwing off his back foot. You know what I mean? I know he has a strong arm. You know what I mean? He has a really strong arm.
I mean, trying to look like Favre and Rodgers with that look, yeah.
I mean, I think at some point he overcompensated because of his injury. You know what I mean? Like it just, he would have a tendency to throw off his back foot. But then you saw him doing that less and less as he got more healthy. But he does have a tendency when the pressure is on to start throwing off his back foot.
Yep.
He needs to stop doing it. And I'm hoping that, we did have Sean Mannion now as our QB coach. I hope maybe Sean Mannion can get in his ear that he needs to stop doing it. You know what I mean? But I think that's something that's an issue with Love, that he wants to keep doing it because he has a strong arm,
I would agree with Broski here at going into the season. I would actually probably agree with this ranking for various different reasons. I think Love is meant to be a better quarterback than Goff. But now you look at the line problem that Goff is going to have to deal with. I think that's what drops him from 1 to 2 for me. That's what drops him from 1 to 2 is the line issues he now has to deal with. Because I just told you why. I think that's going to affect him. So I would agree with Broski right now. That Demarcus Russell had a strong arm. I mean, and I get what Isaac is saying, and that's the thing. Love, just like be Jordan Love. Stop trying to look like Favre and Rodgers. I think that's what Isaac is kind of saying. Like, just be you.
He's in the middle of those two.
You don't have to throw off your back foot like those guys. You can do other things, is what he's saying, and he's right. Because Love last year made some piss poor decisions, and it showed, and hopefully he corrects it. And that's one of them is this. I don't know why he's got to throw off his back foot to try to show out, to be on ESPN, I guess. But
another thing I want to see Love have is more touch to his throws. You know what I mean? Like he loves bolting, throwing a bullet, to his receivers. And sometimes the play doesn't need that. Play needs like a little floater, and then the player can do the rest. But sometimes
Caleb showed us last year he could throw the bullet, but he could also finesse the ball in there. And that's basically what you're saying Love needs to do. He's like, he can pull it, but let's see some finesse out of Love.
Right.
And that's like both these quarterbacks have good ceilings. I think Love still has more to go on the ceiling. Caleb just started. He's definitely got more to go on his ceiling. I agree with you, Isaac. I think Love needs to work more on the finesse game, just dropping that soft bucket, not everything has to be a speed clock. Like you're trying to go 184 miles an hour down the interstate. Oh wait, that's Viking receivers that do that. But you know what I mean? I agree with you. He needs to slow it up a little bit. And like there were some drops last year that would have been easy touchdowns if he had maybe not put so much gas on the ball.
Yeah, like one play in particular was to Robert Kraft. I mean, Kraft was just standing.
Tucker Kraft.
I was saying Tucker Kraft. Sorry, I keep getting Robert Kraft. Every time I keep talking about that fool. But Tucker Kraft, he was literally wide open for a first down, and Jordan Love, for whatever reason, bowled it right into his hands, and it led to an interception because Kraft wasn't expecting a bullet. You know what I mean?
Isaac, Robert Kraft dropped the ball because he had massage oil on his hands.
Sure, that wasn't Diddy. Diddy oil.
No Diddy. Hey, as an outside observer, one thing I can say though, because I'm not a fan of the North. Like, I actually am rooting for all the quarterbacks in that division. Like, I want I want JJ to be good, and I want Caleb to take a step forward, because then you guys are going to have really good battles in that division. Like, if you have 3 or 4 good quarterbacks in that division, like that's going to be a lot of fun football, dude.
I want to see how your division plays out. You got 4 Hall of Fame coaches.
Couple field drops early where he did what Love did, right? He would try to zip the ball to like Keenan Allen, like from 8 yards out in the end zone. And Keenan Allen, who, had sure hands in his whole career, all of a sudden is getting the dropsies. Well, why was that? Because everything was zip, zip, zip. Not everything had to be zipped. Caleb learned that, though. And by the end of the year, he stopped zipping some of those balls in. And, oh, my God, they were receptions. And I think, like Isaac brings up a great point, 2 great points on Love. Stop throwing off the back foot. Could that be because of the injury and that's why he's doing it, like Lucas suggests? Maybe that could have been part of it, because when guys get injured, like a leg injury, sometimes if they're not 100% when they come back, they pick up a way to throw the ball to still play, and then they don't drop that when they're healthy because it becomes part of their muscle memory. So that could have been it with Love last year. And then the other piece of it is like, dude, not everything has to be a bullet.
Yeah.
Like, those are 2 things that Jordan Love can improve, and that will improve the Packers. It doesn't hurt that he's got a good receiver now that has some speed that might get open now a little bit better than some of his other deep threats, and he has better hands than his current deep threat. Because
the big thing about the bullet pass is timing, right? You know what I mean? Like, a lot of these plays are timed, you know what I mean? And you have a certain window to get the ball to the receiver's hands or, whichever position you're throwing to. And I think some of these plays are just late, in the quarterback's mind. So they tend to bullet things, you know what I mean? And that doesn't help your team really sometimes. You know what I mean?
Might not be late in the quarterback's mind. They might actually be late because, let's face it, Isaac, they do it in practice. They practice it 50 times, and 50 out of 50 it hit. And then it goes to the game and it misses, and it's why? Well, because you didn't have a guy trying to knock your head off as he pressed you coming off the line. Yeah. You didn't have the defensive line trying to rip your arms off out of your socket at practice, but you do in the game.
Yeah, so that's another true thing.
That's the other thing. It's like, that's why, like, when I look at OTAs, and I've seen a couple with quarterbacks, all these interceptions thrown in practice. Well, good. It's called practice for a reason, right? And they're gonna, and so they're going to learn the offense. They're going to throw interceptions. But then on the inverse side of it, when they do something great at practice for 50 times, that doesn't mean shit. Why? Because it's a helmet and shorts and a T-shirt. It's not pads and guys trying to kill each other out there. It's the most opportune, idyllic situation for them to do that play versus the game, which is complete chaos.
I get that part of it. You know what I mean? Of course, the defense changes plays. You know what I mean? Like, when the defense is somewhere you don't think they're going to be, that changes the play. You know what I mean? It makes you maybe look for your next progression. But at the same time, I've seen some things last year from Love where the play is wide open, where he's getting great protection, and he still bullets it. You know what I mean? So he just needs to channel, you know what I mean? Channel it down.
Isaac, when it's clean, because I knew you were going to go there. There were clean plays where they did the same thing. But and Caleb did the same thing, and I think Goff maybe has done it a few times, and every quarterback does. But you know why they do that, though? I think, honestly, my idea on that is, okay, you're so used to it not being clean in the game that mentally you don't expect it to be clean. And so quarterbacks are trying to always make all these adjustments versus, because of the hits and the pressures. When it becomes clean, that's kind of like, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. It's chaos because it being clean doesn't happen often. It does, like, oh my God, that was clean, but you weren't expecting clean, so you threw it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that could be from the last play. You know what I mean? You may have got blitzed last play and got hit, or, a QB hit. Then you're in the next play, you're like, oh, shit. I don't want to get hit again. You know what I mean?
There were some balls Caleb threw last year where, like, Woody was like, what the fuck? And so, he's so used to getting pressure that all of a sudden he had the time. Why did he miss the guy? Because he was, hearing the footsteps in the back of his head or whatnot from the previous play that he would never have thought that he was going to be able to have the opportunity to do it right. And so maybe he rushed it or he put too much on it or whatever. And I think that happens with all quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think also if you add to that, like, the defensive line is a big part of it, but DBs are also a huge part of it because, like, with timing routes, you're running them in a helmet and no pads. Like, receivers are getting a free release at the line, whereas in a game, now they're getting jammed. They're getting, like that throws off timing routes. So they're like, a quarterback that's thrown this same timing route 150 times in OTAs, he's bulleting it in there because it's like, it has to be there at this time. But like in a real game, your receiver is getting jammed. He's got to get a release from the DB, so that takes time. And so that could be a part of it too. Like where all of a sudden his guy is getting jammed. He's supposed to be at this place, but he's not there yet. So now I got to make up for that by getting the ball there faster.
And let's go one step further with that, Joe, because I think we saw some bad interceptions last year. Caleb he only had 5 in the whole year, so the argument isn't as good for him, but yet it did happen to him. This used to happen to Cutler, it's happened to Favre, it's happened to Rodgers, it's happened to every quarterback. The timing route says put the ball on the right hash mark. The receiver, instead of going to the right hash mark on the sideline, goes to the hash mark towards the middle. And so instead of turning right, he goes left. The ball goes where it was supposed to go. The receiver doesn't go where he's supposed to go, and the DB is where the ball was supposed to go. And next thing you know, there's an interception. That happens quite a bit in this league, and the quarterbacks always take the blame for it. But it's like, dude, the quarterback is literally throwing blind in some of these cases, like completely blind. Can't see over the line or whatever. Just puts the ball where the ball is supposed to be, and the receiver is nowhere close. Or we've seen it where receivers slip, they fall, they get bumped off the route, whatever. Now they're not where they're supposed to be, but the ball has been perfectly delivered where it's supposed to be, on time, on target. But the only guy there is a DB.
Yeah, that reminds me of one of the worst throws in Love's career, I think, is I was there live against the Rams where he was in the end zone. All he had to do is throw the ball away. You know what I mean? Instead, he just ends up fucking, he's getting hit by 2 guys, and he throws it anyways, and it ends up into a pick 6, into a touchdown. I was like, Love, what are you doing, dude? Just throw the ball away. You know what I mean? Don't try to force a play.
Even on those, sometimes when these guys are trying to throw the ball away and they're getting hit and they get picked, and you're like, oh my God, why didn't you throw the ball away? What do you think he was trying to do? You don't think the impact of getting hit affected the trajectory of the ball that he threw?
There's also the rules. There's also the rules. Like if you're in the end zone and you get called for intentional grounding, it's a safety. So if he even throwing it away, he has to get to a place that's close enough to a receiver where he's not going to get flagged and cost his team a safety.
Well, Jaden Reed actually was going to the side bounds like he always does, like he rides to the side. If Love would have threw it in his vicinity, it wouldn't be called that. You know what I mean? But instead, Love just tried to make some play, and it ended up being a pick 6.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a good play. I'm just saying maybe in his mind he was thinking like, I don't want to get intentional grounding because it's going to cost us a safety, and
And then even to defend Love a little bit here is who knows what the hit may have changed where he put the ball. Like maybe he wanted to put the ball towards the line, but as the hits come, it turned his body or turned him more to a different location. And he didn't put it where in his mind he wanted to put it. And that happens a lot, too. We've seen that. And quarterbacks get blamed for that. Now, look at all these quarterbacks in the division, I think, have either upside or have – even Goff still has some upside. I think Goff is just going to be more challenged this year than Love or Caleb because of the line right now today. That may change. But that's why I think Broski's right. Right now, I'd rank them – Love, Goff, Caleb, then JJ, because Caleb's still got to prove it. And I said this on X yesterday because someone bitched about there was a top 10 list of rosters. And everyone in the NFC North made the list except the Bears, and they were mad. I'm like, why are you upset? I fully expect that because we will not get any respect until because you look at it on paper, the Bears have one of the best rosters in the league. But until they win games and punch people in the mouth and beat the piss out of them, they're not going to get respect. I don't care how good the roster is on paper. Until we start winning games, we got to go take the respect. The Packers can have a bad roster and I'm not saying they do. I'm just saying for the argument here, the Packers could have a mediocre to bad roster, but they'll still be on that list. Why? Because they won games last year and made the playoffs, right? The Bears could have this great roster, but we won 5 games. Of course, we're not going to get that respect. They got to go out and grab it. And I think fans need to understand that as we go into the season when they're talking about these teams. Like, the Bears are not going to get Look at NFL Network. Every time you see them go through a team schedule and they talk about, oh, this team's getting the Bears. Oh, that's a W. According to NFL Network, the Bears are going 0-17. If I look at all the different teams that they do the season, the schedule breakdowns for, their Bears must be going 0-17 because they're not good enough to beat anyone, have no one on the team.
Except
You got to
Ryan
go
Rink.
out and take the respect.
Except Ryan Rink. I'm really looking forward to the AFC West this year too. Like you said, Isaac, there's 4 Hall of Fame coaches in that division. Like, I don't think the Raiders are good enough to win the division yet, but I hope that they're competitive. I just want to I want Carroll to beat Harbaugh at least once because I just want to see Harbaugh's face. He hates losing to Carroll, dude. And I just want to see it.
I can't wait to see that handshake. That handshake's gonna be pretty gritty.
If I was Carroll and I win, I would walk up to him and I'd be like, "What's your deal, dude?"
Instead of handshake, they bump shoulders.
Like with Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur, like Ben Johnson coming out talking about how he likes to beat LaFleur, and LaFleur going dude, you've never been a head coach before. How did you come out and beat me? Obviously, he was talking about when he was an OC. But what's that first handshake going to be like with those two guys? That's going to be fun to watch.
Well, LaFleur said he respects him. You know what I mean? So it's going to be, LaFleur, he mostly keeps it professional, so he'll shake his hand for sure.
I think they're both they respect each other, but still that little trash between them is kind of making me fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be handshake, goodbye, or it's going to be like, some of the coaches, you get the handshake, bro hug kind of thing. And some you get that handshake as they're drifting away from each other. Like, here's my arm, you better grab it because I'm already walking away from you kind of thing. Which handshake is going to be with LaFleur and Ben Johnson? And what's it going to be like in week 2 when Ben Johnson goes out to gamble?
Hey, one thing Lions haven't discussed, too, is all these offensive line changes could affect Laporta. Because Laporta is now going to become more of a blocking tight end than a receiving tight end.
Yeah, look at Cole Kmet. Look at Cole Kmet. We all know Cole Kmet as a receiving tight end. Dude's baller. That's why he got paid. But I think part of the reason why we haven't used him properly is because of the offensive line. So look no further than within the division at Cole Kmet, how it stunted his offensive production capability because he's had to block so much to help out the line. That could happen to Laporta as well. You're right, Isaac. 100%.
I can see it happening. I mean, at least like the first 8 weeks, until they acclimate, you know what I mean, and get used to the offense and get used to everything flowing. But for now, you got to help out the line as much as you can.
I mean, look at the Lions could get lucky, right? The next guy they pick to be center might just hit the ground running and be great. That could happen, and no one here is saying it's not going to happen. Right, or that it can't happen. I guess is a better word. No one's here saying that it can't happen. Statistically speaking, the odds just aren't in their favor of that happening, and there's going to be a period of adjustment. And unfortunately, weeks 1 and 2 being in the division against 2 defenses that are going to be pretty darn good this year, I have the personnel to be pretty darn good, is not the best way to start. And the other bad part for the Lions is there's no let up in this schedule this year for anyone in the North because we're playing the AFC North and the NFC East. We're playing a lot of really good football teams. So we don't get those NFC South days where it's just like, oh, well, here's an easy one to throw at you to recover a little bit. Or hey, go play this NFC South team that's not the Buccaneers. Oh, wait, but for the NFC South, they get the Buccaneers. So, I mean, because they got that first place schedule, they get a harder draw that way too. And I don't like the whole strength of schedule argument, but they really don't get any easy outs. Even with the divisions that aren't as good, they get the best of those divisions this year. They're gonna be interesting to watch. I mean, we really have a division this year that's got 4 really good teams that could all possibly, we're 10 games. Yeah, all of them have the capability of doing it. 9 games could get you last place in this division. But are they going to be able to play that way because of some of these different changes and the schedule? Today's a busy day, guys. We're about 45 seconds. Let me see if I can get some of these comments in here real quick before we sign off. Don't forget, we got MMA Maniacs today at 2 p.m. Central, House Hall at 7 p.m. Central. JV follows in about 30 seconds. We've got the Huddle afternoon show at noon Central, and JB's roundtable tonight after House Hall. So that'd be at 8 p.m. Central to talk about the AFC North, and that's going to be a really big roundtable tonight. As we got a bunch of he's got a bunch of special guests coming on. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Woody, for coming on with us today. Everyone in the comments, Broski, Nicholas, JC, of course, John Dorn. Love you, brother. Yeah, Motown Mitch, Bill T. All you guys have a great day. JB is next. See you tomorrow.
Go back, go.
Bear down.